Well, with Labour celebrating Ed Miliband's popularity bounce off the back of his announcement to cap energy prices, the Tories will be hoping for a similar effect for David Cameron this week. In what's being dubbed the battle for the consumer, the Prime Minister has revealed within days the government is to start backing mortgages to help people get on that property ladder. Well, for more on this, I'm joined by the Chartered Surveyor and Estate Agent Jeremy Leaf. So people are going to be able to take out 95% mortgages again. This all sounds a little bit too familiar. Are you a fan of this scheme, or do you think it's a dangerous card to play given what's happened before?
Well, I think it's a good idea. It's one of, like a lot of things, it's a great idea for some people and in some areas. But in other areas where the market is quite strong already, there's a danger that it could become a little bit the market could get overheated, and we could see prices rising again as we saw before.
Do you think it's a little bit niche? I mean, the Prime Minister, when he's been talking today, he's been talking about young professionals, nurses, teachers who can afford mortgage payments but can't necessarily come up with that 40-60% deposit they need now. Do you think this is too much of a niche scheme? What about younger families that can't afford to get?
Well, definitely. I think that's the point. It deals with the demand side. And what we would like to see in the market is concentration on the supply side as well. I mean, it was said last week that they're going to look at the scheme every year rather than every 3 years. We would like to see certainly looking at the supply side on a more regular basis, maybe after 6 months, maybe 9 months, and seeing is the supply matching the demand, because it takes a while for a builder or developer recognizing that demand in the market to then go and produce some flats or houses, particularly on the affordable level, which people really need.
So you think that the Prime Minister should perhaps be focusing his attention more on providing affordable homes?
I think it's a bit of both. It's a bit of both. You can't get the supply without having the demand there. No one's going to build anything unless they know there's a demand for them at the end of it. But it's the planning, it's the lending, particularly to the small and medium-sized companies, which we so often hear about. That level of the lending there is actually down. Lending to individuals has improved, but lending to companies who want to provide this housing is not so easy, and planning is still very difficult.
And you mentioned before about, in certain places this may help. A lot of the criticism of this scheme is that it's a little bit London-centric. It could actually serve to push prices up, more people in the market with mortgages fighting for fewer properties. What's the picture like across the rest of the country? Would this help other parts outside of London?
I think it will. I think what we've seen is in London and other parts of, not everywhere in London of course, but in other parts of the country where the market's already quite strong, or there's a shortage of property, particularly where there's most demand. That's where we've seen prices rising quite quickly again, and people are starting to say, oh my goodness, we're getting back to where we were before the bust. We don't want another boom and bust. And that's absolutely right. But I think what the Prime Minister is aiming for, and the government are aiming for, is to get more balance in the market. We are starting to see change in supply. I mean, this week we saw an increase in the level of new home registrations, but we're still a long way behind where we were even when things started to go wrong.
It perhaps needs to speed up a little. Okay, Jeremy Leaf, very interested to hear from you. Thank you.